Okay, you said that you started working when you were how old?
15. And that was when I lived in our first house.
Now you weren't married then, because you didn't get married till you were 16.
Yeah, I didn't get married till I was 16, but I did work when I was out. Before I ever got married, I worked in a hosier mill, and Sam worked at the cafe. And boy, we had it high. We thought back then, we celebrated on Friday night. We had spam and tomato sandwiches, and we thought we were living high on the hog. Like people now goes out to cafes and eat. We had a good old meat tomato sandwich. And other times, I guess we had taters and beans and stuff. That was something different.
You worked in the hosier mill most of your life. I know you worked at Betterware for a lot of years.
Yeah, I worked for better years for a lot of years.
I know you worked at YNS.
Yeah.
And I think you worked for Flake Robinson for a while.
I didn't work long.
You work any other place as far as board and socks?
Not until after Sam died. I was working at a place in Newton, and Carl Sigmund wanted me to come to work for him, and the place I was working at, I was making big money. It was the best boarder they had. I didn't work there long, for Sam was sick, and he was getting a new machine in, and I told him that I was going to quit on account of Sam's health. He wasn't able to come up there every day and take me up there every day, and they said if I'd stay, they'd give me that new machine if I was the last person they hired. And so Carl Sigmund wanted me to come down there and work. He's right here at home, and so I quit up there and went down there to work, and I boarded socks for I don't know how many years until I finally quit and stayed home with Sam.
When he was sick?
Because he was sick, and I finally gave up and stayed home with Sam for several years before he passed away.
Now, when he died, where did you go to work?
After he died, Curtis's principal from Catawba wanted me to come to work for him. He's a custodian. And I went down to the schoolhouse and worked for him at the Catawba school for a little over 9 years. And then I quit. I was old enough to draw my retirement. And I come home then and stayed for less than a year, and I went into Kmart one day, and my granddaughter was working up there at the front desk thing where they take in stuff and all that.
Now that was Crystal, right?
Yeah, it was Crystal, and so I told Crystal, I said, I'd like to do what Mal's doing there. It was door greeting. He was just speaking to people and more or less standing around. And so she told Robin what I said, and so Robin said, well, come in, and she'd give me a job, but I said, I can't work but 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. And so I went up there and worked for a little over 6 years, and Mr. Jackson, when I quit, he didn't want me to quit. He said that me and Mal was the only 2 door greeters they ever had was fit for anything, but he was pretty hard to work for, but he always thought a lot of me and Mal. And when I quit, he gave me a $25 gift certificate.
Now, how old were you when you finally retired and quit working?
When I finally quit working, I was 70 years old.
And what did the doctor tell you when you'd gone to see the doctor and you told him you were going to quit?
Yeah, the doctor told me not to quit, keep working. I would live long if I did. I told him I couldn't. My legs was hurting me. So I quit and stayed at home, and I get a little check from the Kmart. I never did put nothing in it, but I did when I worked at the school. So that way I get a little check from the school and the Kmart, and then I get my Social Security.
And I believe you said that when you told the doctor you were going to retire, you finally told him, I'm 70 years old. How old do you have to be before you can quit working?
Yeah, I told him. I said, I'm 70 years old. How old are you supposed to be before you quit working? I thought 70 years old was a whole lot. And while I worked up there, I had my knee operated on one time and went back, and I just always had trouble with my legs, so I finally quit.
When you and Daddy first got married, you and Sam first got married, you didn't have a car when you first got married.
No, we didn't have no car.
How did you get around?
Well, whenever we moved out there to the Shallow place, I don't think we had a horse and buggy before then. We had a horse and buggy. And we would ride to the horse and buggy down to my mama's and down to...
Did you go to church then too?
No, we didn't go to church.
Not when you first got married?
No. We didn't start going to church until we moved out there at Bendy's Crossroads.
When did you get your first car, you and Daddy?
We got our first car when we lived back down in there behind Dean Setzer's. And Bill Ray got in it and run it down there and hit the front of the house, the post or whatever.
Now, you didn't have a car when Bill Ray was born.
No.
And you were pregnant. And how did you get to the hospital if you didn't have a car?
We got Mike, his brother's car. We was out at my mama's for Christmas, and he had to walk back over from back in there behind Murphy Jones's, clean over to the gold mine to get Mike's car.
You're talking Sam did?
Sam went from down there over to get Mike's car to take me to the hospital, and we couldn't get up the hill there at Murphy Jones's.
Not Murphy. It wasn't Murphy Jones. Was it Murphy Jones or was it Setzer's?
It was Murphy Jones's with Bill Ray, and we couldn't get up the hill there at Murphy Jones's, and Mom and Helen them pushed us up, and then we come on over and we stopped at the house and got me some clothes about taken to the hospital, and we went on over the road and we got over there to Setzer's, and they had to get a horse and a mules and pull us up the hill. And we started out at midnight, and we didn't get up there to the hospital the next morning about 7 o'clock, and the baby was born that night at 10.
Now, when did you first learn to drive?
I didn't learn to drive until I come out here, and Sam was sick, and
so you were in your 50s, weren't you?
I was pretty old.
I think you was about 55.
I was pretty old, and anyway, Sam didn't want me to drive. But when he got sick and he had to go backwards and forwards to the hospital, he was in the car with me, and I was driving and taking him. Well, I'd got my driving license. I told him, I said, I need to get my license. I said, if I don't have my license and I'm working, they can do me anyway in a mill. And I said, if I have my license, I don't have to take the way they try to do you. And so he let me get my license.
I was off at school too at the time, wasn't I? Or was that later? Was I not off at school and you needed somebody to...
Yeah, I think you was maybe in college. You might have been in college. And I had to take him for Curtis's in college, and he didn't have no other way to get there. And so I learned to drive.